You followed my ministry very much at all, chances are you will know the story that I tell everybody. When my friend Joseph Tson, he's a Romanian, he now lives in America, happened to be in London years ago when I was at Westminster Chapel, during that particular time when Louise and I went through the toughest trial we'd ever gone through. What happened left me bitter, angry, disillusioned, almost demoralized. I felt I had no future. Joseph Tson, because I knew he wouldn't tell anybody, was one I chose to tell my story to. And if I'm honest, the reason I told Joseph what they did is that he would put his arm around me and say, "RT, you ought to be angry. Get it out of your system." I wasn't prepared for what he said after I told him exactly what happened. If I could narrow the 25 years in London down to 15 minutes, they would turn out to be my finest hour, greatest word anybody ever said to me. And he said, "RT, you must totally forgive them. For until you totally forgive them, you will be in chains. Release them, and you will be released." Nobody had ever talked to me like that in my life. Faithful of the wounds of a friend. He was a real friend. And I cannot thank God enough for Joseph Tson coming my way. I would hate to think of what my life would have been like, where I would be today, if Joseph Tson had not entered my life at that time. It was just a wonderful providence of God, the equivalent of our decision to go to England, our decision to go to Westminster Chapel. That's how big it was. Changed my life and my outlook. The thing is, I don't say I did it in 10 seconds, but I eventually took his advice. And I did it. And it happened right here. I never went to the people, ever. Didn't even come close. Wasn't even tempted to. It happened here. But once I did it, my outlook changed, my ministry changed, thoughts came to me. You could call it anointing, whatever term you want to use. All I know is I began to get insight and blessing, and, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I say that because God has a plan for your life. Anybody listening to me right now. And unless you're very unusual, you have a story to tell. And I wouldn't be surprised if I heard your story. I would think, I didn't go through anything compared to what you've been through. That would not surprise me at all. All I know is that if you've got a story and you're angry and you're bitter, and maybe you have thought that your situation would be the exception to the rule, and if there is such a thing as a loophole and you don't have to forgive, you've found it. And I would understand that. Most of us feel that way. We think what I have been through is the one exception to the rule. But I have to say, sorry, there are no exceptions. But in a way, I shouldn't say sorry, because it's the best thing that can happen to you. Let me put it to you this way. The greater the suffering, the greater the anointing. And if what you have been through, in the light of what you yourself have experienced, and you can forgive that, congratulations, because you have just guaranteed yourself a greater blessing than you could ever imagine. What happened to me will happen to you. It may not mean that you're going to be a minister or an author or travel around the world, but God has a plan for your life, and you will never outdo what God would do for you, through you, until you do what I had to do. Totally forgive them. Let them off the hook. Well, that's all I'm going to say for today. At this moment, God bless you.